We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because, let me tell you something, this is Dart Island. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mid-morning, I should say. Welcome back to Word of Mouth. Today is Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. And obviously, we're getting a late broadcast today because I had a meeting this morning to wrap up all of the final things for Jet Around Cayman coming up this weekend, which is going to be an exciting weekend. And so, yeah, I had to go and finalize a lot of the things that we're doing for that. And I look forward to hosting that event again this year for the second time since we've taken it over. And we've gotten a tremendous amount of support in and out of the wider community. We have 2 international riders coming in. Last year we had 1. Hopefully it'll continue to grow. And there was a couple of conversations that we had in regards to how we're going to structure the prizes and the categories. And I really and truly would love to broaden the categories and have individual prize money for those particular events, for those particular categories. But right now we're just getting the event back to where it should be in regards to having an annual event with all of the things that comes with it. So yeah, hopefully next year we'll be bigger and better as we are this year. Last year it was, first time we brought it back. But again, that's the reason why we have a late start here in Word of Mouth. Couple of things that hit the headlines over the weekend that I wanted to address. Certainly, the question that the PPM asked last week or the week before last, when the then Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance resigned. We then seen where the government, Mr. Panton, came out and basically claimed the glory for the removal of Mr. Saunders in regard to saying he forced him to resign. So again, when we look at the question raised by the PPM government, it's a very valid question now. Is the government stable? Because if Mr. Saunders resigned, effective immediately, was accepted by the cabinet and the members, then why was the need for Mr. Panton to come out a few days later stating that this was the reason? Yes, the country deserved to know why and what was happening. I don't disagree with that. But I would have to say that it was poor judgment on his behalf as to why that wasn't the first initial statement that was given, period. Like, why wasn't that the first thing that was said? Why it took several platforms, except for one, asking questions as to what took place? Why don't we have an explanation for this? It even got to the point where the PPM government issued their press statement, simply saying, we're concerned about the stability of the PAC government. The funny thing with that is, and then we saw a letter that was released by Mr. Saunders explaining, what his position was, and pointed out a few very vital details in regards to some of the issues he had that him and the Premier buck heads on. Mr. Panton claimed they didn't have any that much differences, but we're now seeing it play out in public that is something totally contrary to what he wanted us to believe. Because again, as I said, if your position was what your position is now in the beginning, why wasn't that the reason why we were given, as the general public, as the electorate, as the people who are responsible for electing these duly elected people, and then we become subsequently, responsible and have to deal with the consequences in which they create? So I don't particularly like what is playing out in in the media regards to our government, right? And the reason for that is because now we've seen where Mr. Saunders now gone on the floor of the House and made other statements saying that there was a lot of different bills and different things that they were trying to get done that wasn't supported by the Premier himself personally. So the picture is starting to be to be a little bit clearer. We also seen the whole governor and Mr. Saunders issues and whatnot. I mean, it's just a complete mess. This is a complete disaster, and they weren't about the country having being looked at negatively when we have our top tier politicians having these emotional roller coaster political fallouts in the public domain. I mean, come on, man. And then now they're repealing they're repealing a bill that Chris Saunders put through to require temporary work permits to be advertised in the papers prior to a grant. So my question is, and this is where I start to get concerned. When that particular motion was brought to the House, it was passed by the government. They all passed it. So now that you remove Mr. Saunders, what you're trying to remove everything that he implemented as well, whether they're good, whether it's good or bad for the country. At the end of the day, you know, this is exactly what I refer to when I say political whiplash. We, the public, the people of these islands, is now suffering political whiplash because of the inability of top tier politicians being able to work with one another in order to get the common goal accomplished, right? And now we have where the government is repealing a law that they put in not that long ago. You know, my question is that if you didn't support the bill when it was brought to you by Mr. Saunders, why did you all support it? Well, we know that there's a clause within the Constitution that says says collective responsibility, and maybe that's what the legal arm of the PAC government will try to rip off to us, is that story. Well, collective responsibility, we had to support it. But now that you don't have the collective responsibility or the collective unity to continue with the bill, you then repeal it. We would never know what the impacts of that bill would ever be because now they've repealed it. They didn't give a chance to go into operation so we can see what sort of impact it would have had. But we all know that the construction industry, which is a very large industry in the Cayman Islands, they were the biggest opposers to this particular bill because it affects them the most. Problem is that we all understand politics. When you have the lobbyist dollar pushing for something, it tends to get its way simply because those are the people who fund these fancy campaigns. Those are the people who pay for the turkey and the ham that they hand out during Christmas. Those are the people who fund the campaign. Listen, you might be a campaign or a party supporter by going out there and handing out water and putting out chairs and sweeping up the garbage after the meeting is over. You're just a campaign supporter in regards to that particular person that you're helping campaign for. But you see, the campaign financier is called the lobbyist. So don't be shocked that you may show up at every meeting as a loyal supporter, pick up all the garbage, hand out all the water, greet everybody, pick up the chairs, pack them up, load the truck. You're not that important. I can tell you, because the people who get the political favors are those who write the checks. And then the politician get on stage and they say what the guy that packs the chairs up want to hear, but actually do what the people who finance it want done. That is political 101. You understand? Politics 101. People need to understand that there are no enemies in politics when they all share the same common goal. There's none. They all collectively work together to do whatever they want done. They don't necessarily focus on what need to be done, it's in what they want done, self-serving. And we know that's how politics run, not just here in the Cayman Islands, but in many other places in the world. In fact, maybe all over the world. I am not 100% sure, and I can't guarantee you that every country runs that way. But one thing I can say, and one thing I know I'm 100% sure of, is that our country runs that way. You think a politician want to come out and give you a turkey and ham at Christmas? No, 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 no. They need to give you a turkey and ham at Christmas. They feel that that's what gets you across that threshold to vote. Some people on the fence, they think that they do these little small favors that it's beneficial to them, whatever the case is. But truth be told, it's not the situation. Now, granted, I'm still confused, mostly concerned, but confused as to why they would repeal the law after Mr. Saunders was exited cabinet, and now they didn't have no justification for removing it. Because I just see the article saying PAC government repeals job advertisement policy for temporary work permits. I guess what? Now we ain't gonna wait for us to make noise about it, and then he'll come out and say, "Well, this is why we did it." These are the things you need to do proactively, not that you're gonna go and react to what we say or what the public say. I read some of the comments below the article, and again, the country and the people suffer because of the political fallout or the political differences. You know, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of the same old thing happening over and over and over again. So the next round now would be obviously, you know, I'm sure Mr. Saunders will respond to why they are repealing this law, or why they, you know, why is that taking place? It's a tit for tat, and I'm tired of it. In the country, got pressing issues. We got real issues that we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. There's a couple of articles on there that I was looking at, you know, about the sand and the beach and the shoreline and the this and the that. I mean, come on, man. We sit down here knowing what the problems are, knowing what the solutions are, but trying to find a fancy way of not doing it, or a technical way of not doing it, to convince the public that you made the right decision. The problem is that, look, prior to all of those close proximity to the water, seawalls along the West Bay Road, prior to that, we had good natural sand and beach flow. Do we have rising tides? Yes, we may have that. Everybody is sold on this idea that the world going to be underwater in 20, 30 years. Listen, Mother Nature has a cycle. Whether we are here or not, that cycle will take place. There was an ice age before us. There was. And there'll be one long after us. We just got to know how to exist in the timing in which it's presented to us that we are here. That's it. In the most economical and sustainable and environmental way possible. But we need to focus on what's happening in the Cayman Islands. We have our government falling apart. They say they mightn't be. They say they're stable. How are you going to be stable when you're repealing laws of your former deputy premier and your former minister of finance? What Wayne Pannon track record is in the Ministry of Finance? What's his track record? What makes him the right person for the job? But how do we move ourselves from this type of political policies and political game that they're playing while people in the Cayman Islands is suffering and struggling? I ain't talking about a small block of people, I'm talking about a lot of people, right? And I was also reading, and I'm just reviewing most of them right now. The inflation when it comes to food and gas and all these things that is coming. I mean, if there's ever been a clear picture being painted on whether or not our government is operating or is stable or it's whatever, look at the NRA board chairman, right? The man resigned 1 month after being appointed. Why would Mr. Gilbert McLean resign 1 month after being appointed? Can anybody tell me? Where's the reasons behind that? Maybe it's in the article, maybe I don't know. Why would the NRA chairman resign 1 month after? Ofreg had this fiasco with George Banks. That didn't last a month. Chris resigned, the deputy premier resigned, minister of finance resigned. Now they're repealing laws. We are in a mess. A banana republic. Complete banana republic we got running here. And where do we go? Where do we go from here? Right? I'm just stunned at what's taking place. I'm just reviewing some of the headlines. And nobody is having anything done we have all of these politicians. I mean, come on, man. We saw where a private member started to build a dock in East End, and then it was stopped because he didn't get no permission. And then we saw where Isaac came in and take the initiative, and that's fine. He's the member for the district, so it should have been done that through those way. Our government, listen to me. We need to understand and we need to figure out what's going on here now, right? It's time now that we put a stop to all this now, because a lot of things that are taking place in our government is just not. I mean, it's not in the best interest of the people. You telling me that since the deputy premier, the ex-deputy premier and ex-minister of finance has been vacated from the office of deputy premier and minister of finance, we start to see this personal tit for tat with the premier and him and these things going on. The government can't be stable. It can't. We need to have a by-election. We need to go back to the polls. We need to rewind and come again, because this not happening. This not working. Trust me when I tell you this not working. And we need to fix this because it isn't working. Not. And every day you look, cost of food, everything has gone up. Every single consumable in this island has gone up tremendously. Gas creeping back up, $5.75 for a gallon of diesel. Remember, our utility company burns, and understand this, people don't understand the volume of diesel that is burnt in this country every single day. 140,000 gallons. That's 5.5 million gallons per month. That's right. And we foot the bill 100% of it. So if we and the government want to do anything that's meaningful, you need to start focusing on the cost of living and the things that impact it the most: food and energy and fuel, which fuel affects all of them. And we need to start having these conversations. We need to know, why is it that we are so far down on the priority list when it comes to government allocation of efforts and resources. I struggle all the time when I try to understand the reason why government dollar only worth 25 cents. I try my best, because if they need to go buy a sheet of plywood, 8 people gotta get involved with buying that plywood. It has to go through it has to be sent in. A purchase order gotta be sent out. 5 people at Treasury gotta process it. 6 man at Public Works gotta get in a truck to go and buy it. That plywood end up costing us 15 times more than what value, as opposed to just getting them to deliver it. That's how government works. We look at NAU that is not properly funded. They don't have the proper resources to stay on top of what they have to do. Hence the reason why people complain about it all the time. The housing division of NAU, one of the reasons why people make it very clear in the rental properties that they do not rent to NAU assisted people is because they don't get paid on time. But nobody's addressing that problem. We didn't have time to get on a public platform to talk about things that are not relevant to the fundamental issues that are affecting people on a day-to-day basis. I'm not interested in hearing what your personal feeling is about another politician. I don't care. This country don't have no place in wanting to know anything about that. It's very clear that it's obvious you can't hold the government together. And you don't have no way of leadership that is encouraging to any of them or anybody in the public, as far as I'm concerned. But we sit down here and we accept this subpar standard to what's really needed in Cayman, which is somebody with strong leadership qualities that make the hard decisions without going to public consultation. There are things that you do have to go to public consultation for, yes, but not an anti-bullying law. You don't need to go to the public for no consultation for anti-bullying. You don't need to go to public consultation for recycling. You don't have to go to public consultation for sexual harassment in the workplace. You don't need public consultation for those things. Implement the laws, put them in place, and then enforce them. Simple. You don't need to know what a cross section of people in the public think about laws that are needed, not wanted, needed. So stop wasting the public money about public consultation. We want public consultation when you're signing off on $1.9 billion to give the consortium down at DECO and Regen our project for 25 years that we saddled with the debt. I need public consultation for that. I need public consultation when you want to build a $500 million cruise berthing facility to accommodate a industry that generates 60% of the revenue from our basin in any event. I need public consultation on that. I don't need no public consultation on the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill thy neighbor. We already know that. You don't need to ask my neighbor what they think about that. Thou shalt not bully. Thou shalt not sexual harass. And thou shalt recycle. You don't need no public consultation for those things. We in Pandan. I'm not ever addressing you as premier again. Because you're not no premier and you're not no leader. So until you become one, you're not worthy of the title. And that's just Mario Rankin's opinion. So we in Pandan, please put a recycling law in place, put an anti-bullying law in place, put it in place. Put the sexual harassment law in place. Get on with the country's business. Let's go focus on the cost of living. Let's not go sign up my grandchildren to a $1.9-2 billion project that is only being catered and handed out to the small circle of people who benefiting from it. And I'm tired of it now. Because at the end of the day, what are we going to do? We're going to sit down here and become paupers, which we already are, most of us, while you go out there and blindly sign all these contracts. Listen, the moment you brought back Jennifer Ahern, problem number one. But nobody saw that was problematic. Nobody. Now, I remember specifically asking Chris Saunders before and I had on a political fallout when you brought back Jennifer Ahern. What in the world are you all doing? He couldn't answer me either. He said he didn't know. I asked everybody I could. But you see, previously, he had removed that portfolio from Sabrina Turner. He took it. And then he started putting together this team of people to protect this project. And don't think that I forgot Joey Hugh and the PPM had these glamorous videos about the Regen project, the Regen project. The Regen project, we should be calling it the $2 billion project. That's what we should be calling it. Then you get people attention. Yeah, it's not the Regen project no more. It's the $2 billion project. And let me tell you all this, ladies and gentlemen, we need to stand up and fight against this. We got to sign a petition to have a referendum to decide on this project. If the government refuses to put it back out to tender so that we can get better value for money, and I don't care what nobody talk about, DART is the only one that can afford it. DART not the only one that can afford it. That is the biggest pile of garbage I've ever heard in my life. DART is the only one that it benefits as much as it benefits the Cayman Islands. Now, if they say that, no argument from me, because he's actually one that benefits just as much as we do. All of his development, schools, and they're building a house. If you stand up on the top of Dr. Shetty Hospital that they're building on that roundabout and with a slingshot, you can shoot a rock and hit the dump. Let's not talk about all of that leaching going on below that, Let's not even talk about that. Because I know for a fact of some test wells that were done in and around that area, specifically that came up that was highly toxic and contaminated. That's a fact. Those reports were never aired and never given out. They packed them up and shoved them so far under the desk, nobody never seen them. So believe me when I tell you, that project need to be retendered. And I don't want to know why Regen and DECO and everybody in the DART organization that is affiliated with this project, why they're the only ones that are allowed to allocate the consortium to who they want. Go and look at the amount of people who working in there and who it is and who they're affiliated with and who they family to. Go look. Go look. It ain't no secret in Cayman, at least not in certain circles. The person who been operating scrap metal in our landfill for the last 4 years, just about, not pay government $1 to be operating on our landfill. Government paying them to remove the metal. Then they take the metal and send it overseas and sell it. Go find out who he affiliated with. Go and find out who he is family and affiliated to in the DART organization. Then I'll find the answers. It's not far different from when I was telling you all to go and look at all the land that were bought on that new East-West Arteria gazetted road. Go look at all the property that were bought. Look at the dates it were bought. Look at who were bought from, and then look at what date the road was gazetted, and then look at who in charge of gazetting the road. And there you will find the smoking gun. Listen, the truth is out there. You just got to go looking for it. And when you find it, just be receptive to it. Oh, I can't believe that he's involved. Really? Go and look for it. But no one wants to have that conversation. I'm not telling you all no foolishness here this morning. You know, that project, that regen project went from $500 million to $1.9 billion. Who paying for that? I know it's not Mario Rankin, and I know it's not his children. I can tell you that right now. We're not paying for that. And we need to stop that. So don't make these glossy ads and the propaganda trick you. The only people benefiting from that is the people in that consortium that is managed and allocated by that organization. You understand me? They pull in one or two little small straggling Cayman. Oh, let me give you a little contract here, and that'll mend it over. No. That don't mend nothing over. No, that not going to happen. We ain't spending no $1.9 billion, $2 billion to put in a waste to energy plant, put in methane wells and cap and line and reset. No, we don't need to do that. We don't need DART to do that. I know that there is a signed agreement on the first consortium, but now that terms of the conditions of the original contract has been far breached in regards to the cost and the breakdown, it's time to bring that back in and retender that. We're not telling them they can't submit a bid back on it, but we got to form a new committee to review these things. There's a lot of different methodologies out there that is separate and far from what they're suggesting that's going to cost a pile of money. And let me explain this to you all. Let me just break down what tipping fees are. Let me break down what a waste of energy is. Since a popular, and I told you that I'm done talking about that particular person by name, since there's such a popular bullying platform that suggested that I don't know nothing about waste to energy, or I don't know nothing about landfill, and I don't know nothing about anything to do with it because I moved some scrap metal. Let me just clue you all in. Let me just tell you what I actually know, and these things are factual, but some people struggle with facts and truth, so they wouldn't understand. So let me explain this to you. You see, when a waste to energy plant goes into that landfill, listen to me good, government signing a dotted line if they get away with what I'm suggesting here and what I'm telling you happening. Listen very good, I want you all to understand what I am about to say. Let me break down the landfill and the allocation of fees and whatnot. When or if that waste energy plant goes into that landfill, owned and ran and operated by that consortium, Regen, the government has an obligation to provide them with X amount of garbage in order for that plant to be feasible, Right now, the Cayman Islands, now it could be more now because the population has grown, and I'm speaking hypothetically when it comes to these numbers. In the past, on some of the last reports that I had the opportunity to see, we used to generate between 600 to 800 tons of garbage per day. All right. I would imagine that that has increased a bit since the population have grown. A waste energy plant in which Regen is suggesting or proposing is going to require between 1,500 to 2,000 and above in order for that to be economically feasible. You follow what I'm saying? There was also a clause, and I want you all to listen good. There was also a caveat in that agreement that they would barge Cayman Brac and Little Cayman garbage to Cayman, just so that Regen waste energy plant would have had enough garbage to burn in order for it to make sense. So all you environmentalists out there that backing this thing, we're gonna think on a cans and a cardboard and a plastic we're gonna be burnt. We're gonna be burnt in that because they were gonna need it to have the right volume of garbage in order for it to work. Now, I not get to the juicy part yet, I did not hear the juicy part yet. The fact that this plant would be encouraging more garbage as opposed to less, meaning that the recycling efforts would be out the window. No, 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 no. Just pile it up here. We're gonna burn it all. That's what they plan to do. Then it becomes an entity, and then government has to then enforce collection of garbage fees called a tipping fee. Now, understand this. They're not only going to burn the garbage, generate energy, put it back to the grid and benefit from it, they're going to also be charging you a tipping fee, a garbage fee every year, right? That you're going to have to pay. That's how they get their ROI, ladies and gentlemen, for 25 years. What happens if they don't meet their ROI in that 25 years? Then they get extended. I'm sure there's a caveat in there where they extend it. So that 25 years can turn into 50 years like that. The ash and all of the byproducts of this plant, these are the only positives, pros and cons. Remember now, these are the only positives that they're spinning on. The ash can then go into mixing asphalt and whatnot, and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, so understand me for the person that supposedly don't know nothing about it, right? Don't have a clue. When they put that waste to energy plant in place, we're going to be required to provide X amount of garbage, X amount of tonnage per day in order to feed it. We're going to be required to pay a tipping fee in order to pay for it, maintain it. And then they're going to be taking the methane, because methane is also combustible. That's energy. They're going to take the methane and use it for their own benefits. Hold on now, it gets better. Whatever energy that waste energy plant provides is pumped back and sold to CUC, who have the exclusive rights for distribution, right? CUC have the exclusive rights for distribution. So DART and Regen and government and private citizens can generate as much as they want. You know what they can't do? They can't distribute it. It has to be sold and redistributed by CUC. So there again is a problem. That's a two-headed dragon, because we need to abolish that contract with CUC, and we need to make sure that any energy that is coming from our landfill benefits us, not them. And then last but not least, you look on your light bill and therein lies the detail. Alternative energy surcharge is on your bill already. So the more alternative energy gets plugged to the grid, the higher the alternative energy surcharge becomes. We need to wake up, ladies and gentlemen. This system is not actively or efficiently working in the best interest of the regular layman in this country. It's not. People who can afford it don't care about those details. People who can't afford it absolutely care. So the fact that I'm not supposed to know anything, I seem to know a whole lot. In fact, we got Jennifer Ahern negotiating this deal, that were kicked out of the PPM government for poorly negotiating this very same deal. So let's not forget where we are and what's happening, because it's happening right before our eyes and we're letting it happen. Check some of the comments right quick. See if anybody agree or disagree, which is welcome anyway. Justin, what would you do to fix the beach, Mario? That's very simple, Jonathan. Tear a hotel and condominium down, build them on the opposite side of the damn road. That's what I would do. Is it barbaric? Maybe. Is it unimaginable? Absolutely. Is it something that we get a lot of resistance on? Oh yeah. But does it need to be done in order to save the beach? Hell yeah. Louis Johnson's, we need a new government that have Cayman interests at heart, and the people in power must not be elected. That's true. Caymanians wake up. I'm with you on that one. NAU housing, not on the government agenda, only the march and protection of, yep, that's a good point. I can argue there. Keisha Bush, I 100 agree with all that is said today. Thank you. Our government is in a, our government is, oh, our government is a disgrace on the world stage, running government affairs and permit revenue. Nowhere in the world but Cayman. Yep. Clinton, what you doing, buddy? You good? I, as you did, had issues with bringing Mr. Bush into the folds of the pack. What was the nail? What was the nail in the pack coffin? Was when he brought back Jennifer Ahorn. You absolutely right. You see, I'm not the only person that be watching this thing, and I know Clinton, these guys be watching, and I can tell you guys, people do not really understand what's happening. We don't even understand. Listen, we not making all these mistakes because he know what he doing. He making these mistakes because he don't know what he doing. So understand that. Jonathan, when you don't know somebody speaking hypothetically, I don't know what to tell you, but um, anyway, at the end of the day, the problem is that because we didn't have good infrastructure planning for how Cayman was supposed to evolve to and develop into prior to what we have today, this is the issue that we're facing right now, right? All of our indigenous sand fell off of the drop off is on a shelf below there. Miles and miles of sand is there. They need a hopper dredge to pump it back up and pump it to the beach. But what's the sense of doing that if when you pump it back to the beach, two southeasters and one northwester laid it back off the drop off? Don't make any sense because we have allowed too many beach walls and sea walls to be built close to the shoreline, which doesn't allow the natural flow of the currents and the waves to bring the water and the sand in and out of those areas. We never had this issue when we never had that amount of development on that land, right? I'm not telling you that I don't support development. I'm pro-development, but sustainable development. You go down A1A and South Beach, everything is very little hotels and buildings are on the beach, but the mass majority of them are on the land side. The beach is preserved, and that's how it should have been. And I've been that way from in the 1900s. So I don't know why we didn't cut and paste that idea. The reality is that yes, at this point, it's kind of late, but it's never too late to implement the right thing and to reverse the wrong thing. And the fact that you can tell yourself that, oh my God, that's unheard of, or we can't do that. No, that's the reason why it's the way it is. Yeah. I don't have a problem with the Ritz. I don't have a problem with none of the hotels or the condos. I don't have a problem with any of those. They just should have been built on the opposite side of the street. The beach should have been 100% preserved, that everybody could use it, including their condo owners and the beach goers and the hotel goers. Everybody should have been able to use the beach in its natural form. Simple. We didn't do it. We didn't secure it. Now we fight in this battle. I get it. But all of those walls, Royal Palms, Dart Wall, Coral Beach, all the way down, all across there, all that need to come out. Every bit of it. I never say, and you talk about logical, that is extremely logical. That might not be favorable, but it's logical. That is the most logical thing to do. It might not be the most popular thing to do, but it's the most logical. You think if they put the barriers in the water, within the water, and pump the sand back. Let me tell you something, Jonathan. If you don't know anything about dredging, you don't know anything about hopper drams, you don't know anything about sand flow, you don't know anything about currents, you don't know anything about that shoot off of Port Call, and you don't know anything about that shelf, I suggest you reserve your comments in that regard. Because I can tell you, put up barriers and pump the water should help. Let me tell you something. Mother Nature is a bad beast. And I never said that to belittle you in any way. I said that simply because that is, no, you want to talk about something that's not logical. That not logical. And you know, we in Panan and his little group, they're not gonna do anything that logical because he don't have the ability to understand what's happening, and he not willing to listen to people who know what's going on. Listen, a study was done. A study was done by an organization who can afford it. I don't want to call no names. You all already know who that is. You just won't say that I said it. But a study was already done that found the sand. Know where it is. It's there. So we don't need to bring in no foreign sand, you know. We can use our own indigenous sand that was put, the sand that is natural in that area. But anyway, that's a whole other topic for another day. So what we need to really do is we need to understand what's happening and what's going on. So, and until we're willing to do that, we're not gonna ever be willing to do the right thing. So, but we got buckle down now and start doing what's right for Cayman, and that is electing the right people. Are we gonna still elect some bad ones? Yes. It's a process. It's a filtering process. We just can't give up because we feel like we're hopeless. We can't do that. I want to know why we never repeal the mandate for having vaccination to get a work permit in Cayman. Why he didn't repeal that? Chris was involved with that. That's what you should have repealed. You repealed this law, but you can't repeal that one? Are you kidding me? You gotta have a vaccine that don't work and that has been killing people around the world, proven. You forcing people to take it to get a work permit. You still got that law implemented. Repeal that law, we in pardon. That a law you should be repealing. And I don't want to hear nothing from the Minister of Health about I support this because she don't know nothing about Minister of Health. She don't know nothing about health. She don't know about anything. One thing I do know, and everybody else in this country know, including them, that putting that law in place was wrong. I don't know how Samuel Bulgin could have sat down and allowed them to do that as a legal advisor to the government. He should be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed of himself. And you want to tell you why he should be ashamed of himself? Because it affected his countrymen the most. Yeah, Sam Bulgin should be ashamed of himself for allowing the government to implement a vaccination law to get a work permit in this country. Because it affected his countrymen more than any other person in this island. It has. So if he can sleep good at night knowing what he allowed happen in this country and signed off on, that's up to him. That's his personal prerogative. But I can tell you one thing for sure, I'm not gonna ever make you forget it. I don't care. You a public figure. You work for our government. You're the Attorney General. And I don't got nothing against you personally. I got everything against the way you do your job. You're not gonna like me. Matter of fact, I don't want nobody to like me. I wanted to understand that my only reason for doing what I do is because I got Cayman and its people at heart. I've always had that at heart. And I struggle with trying to be silent when I see these things happening, knowing that there's only a few people that are willing to say what I say. There's only a few people. And if I can be harnessed with the job to be that person, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Because I'm tired of people in these high positions doing stupidity and we allowing it to trickle down into our consequences. There are people who are in the grave right now because of that vaccine here in Cayman. There are people who have been adversely affected medically in the Cayman Islands. There are people who are struggling currently after that vaccination mandate right now in the Cayman Islands, but yet our government can sit down and repeal a job advertisement application for temporary work permit. You can really sit down in our cabinet and waste time repealing a law that you passed and leaving a law that you passed in place that continues to discriminate against the small man? You know, glass recycling is a good business, Jonathan. You know why they stopped that? Because of the volume. They took all the down. Hey, you're right. Anyway. Again, these are the things that I'm dumbfounded on when you see these things happening. You know, you can pass and repeal a law in less than a year, but you can't implement a law for recycling, anti-bullying, and sexual harassment? What's going on in our government? Tell me. Oh, it's more complex than that, Mario. We can't just implement an anti-bullying law because, the people who are doing the bullying might get offended. Okay, I guess that might be one of doing. But I don't have no energy for stupidity, and there's no space, and there's no place for dumb politicians doing dumb things on a regular basis. When are we gonna wake up and say, listen, you can't be doing this no more? You see, the people think that because you're the premier or that you're the deputy premier or that you're a minister of this and you're a cabinet member that you're automatically supposed to be capable. I don't know how you get some sort of proverbial exemption because you're a cabinet member or because you're the premier. Sometimes it's better to lead from behind. That way you can see everything in front of you. And sometimes leading from the front is the reason why you're not able to lead at all because you don't know what's going on behind you. Yeah, I believe the glass make better foundations for everything. They use it in asphalt to pave roads. They use it in pavers. They use it for all kind of stuff. Cement, concrete mixing. It's a good commodity to use. So recycling glass, the way I would like to see glass recycled, to be honest, Jonathan, is where we set up a recycling factory where and I mean, we just need to come to terms with it. We consume more alcohol probably per capita in the world. So all of the wine bottles, the rum bottles, the beer bottles, everything should be able to be recycled, repackaged, and sent to the factories that own those companies and sell it to them and use the bottles over instead of keep making new bottles, keep recycling the old ones that are already in existence. But that's just my opinion. That's how I see it. If we had a plant or a factory in Cayman that sterilized all these bottles, packaged them, and sent them to the companies that manufacture them, I think it would be a good thing. Is it costly and would it cost some money? Yeah, but at least you're doing something that is environmentally friendly and something that is helpful. Maybe I mean, right now we spend a whole we spend a whole lot of money on doing foolishness around here. That I can tell you. We bought a piece of land on Spots, Mariners Cove. The government bought a piece of land on Mariners Cove, Spots, to build a wellness center. Think about that for a minute. I'll leave you with that. Mariners Cove is where was washed into the middle of Spots and in the bushes across Spots and Hurricane Ivan. But our government saw the need to buy it to build a wellness center to put there. Yeah, that's our government. That's what they decided to do. So I just letting you know. Not to make no blocks or paper. What? Anyway, you do whatever you think you do with the glass. It don't make no difference to me. The bottom line is that they don't recycle it anymore. So whatever you want to do with the glass, Jonathan, who cares? Once you're recycling it, building blocks, pavers, houses, cement, asphalt, whatever. Who cares? That's the same thing with the car tires, right? You all realize that the same person that has been given permission to operate moving scrap metal out of our landfill, the same company and the same person was also given a contract and was paid to move the tires from the landfill, but yet we saw where the tires caught a fire up there and were burning for weeks. Ain't nobody exporting tires now. They're piling up down the dump. And you see, people don't understand the compounds of tire. You see, tire and the rubber that's in the tires, it's already maximized. It doesn't put out any chemicals unless you burn it. You could take a tire and you can put it in water, in a body of water, for 1,000,000 years, and it won't put out one single shred of contaminants or anything because it's already been used. It doesn't have it in there. The only how you can get anything that is harmful is if you burn it. Hence the reason why they use tires for playground equipment now. They take them, they strip the metal out of them, and they mulch them up into small, fine pieces, and they put them in these dyes and color them whatever color they want, and then they use it to make playground mats and playground equipment, which is brilliant in my opinion. And it can be done. I can tell you about the tires personally because I won the tender years and years ago to remove the tires. I was willing to pay government 5 cents a tire. Imagine we went from being willing to pay government for the tires to them paying somebody to move the tires that never moved the tires. This is what's going on in that consortium over at the landfill. At the end of the day, the reality and most of the things that we face is that we don't have the right people in charge of getting it done. And that's unfortunate. That's the situation we currently face. So, how do we get past that? Is properly educate ourselves, make sure that when we go to the polls, even if the harvest is small, we try our best to elect the best person for the job, not the most popular person. The person who may have similar views and ideas and things that should be in the benefit for Cayman and Cayman Islands. But until we get to that point, a partially educated democracy is what we need now, because right now we have zero, right? The people that we vote for in these 19 constituencies are people who put themselves forward, who talk a good talk. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we elect the right ones who become contaminated with the bad ones, and then we just back to the same old thing. But hard decisions need to be done in this country. Hard decisions need to be made. The most, decisions that we can focus on are the ones that are directly affecting the average person. And sometimes the thing that needed the most isn't always the most popular. So yeah, I get that political mileage plays a heavy role in what politicians do or don't do. We get that. That's a fact. But how do we get around not getting the right things done when they need to be done? And it's called public pressure. We're not supporting this $1.9 billion regen project that Jennifer Ahorn is spearheading the negotiations on with the oversight of Wayne Panton. We're not doing it. That need to stop. It need to go back out to tender. We need to retender that document, because right now we're not getting value for money. All we getting is this "I have a dream" speech. We're gonna fix the dump and make it look pretty. You don't see they already started to line the dump and cover it, and then when they did that, now you see they built another dump next to the dump that they built another mound right next to the mound that they recapped. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand what I'm saying? Go drive down and look. So we need to fix this problem. And the only way to do it is to make ourselves better aware and be willing to go out and show force in numbers. Because if this government insists on signing off on this regen project at that kind of money that don't include the sister islands, we got to put a stop to that. Because as I told you earlier, they wanted to bring Cayman Brac and Little Cayman garbage to Cayman. That's a fact. I dare anybody in Wayne Ministry or in any ministry in government or in the regen project or part of that consortium that say that that's not true. They wanted to bring Cayman Brac garbage here so they can have enough garbage to run that waste energy plant. Facts. And they're going to do it at our expense, because a barge ain't for free. All that has costs. So understand what it is I'm trying to tell you all. Right? It all got costs. And we can't afford it. So let us not let these things continue to happen right under our noses and on our watch. So anyway, happy Monday. I'm glad everybody had a good, safe weekend and starting a new week. As I mentioned in the very beginning, Easter is this weekend coming up. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, everybody camping, eating, and having a good time. Jet Around Cayman has their launch party. It's a free party in the Seafarers Way, Georgetown Harbor. Coming Saturday. It's going to be a free event, so come out and enjoy the activities. It's the launch event for Jet Around 2023. And we'll be having live DJs and promotions and different things. We got some gift certificates for Casanova's restaurant that was sponsored by them. We're going to be giving them away. We got a couple other promotional items. Hurley's group will be there handing out, some sliders and some little finger foods and stuff. It's going to be a really good event. So come on out and enjoy the activities that we're going to have for the Jet Around launch party. And then on Monday, down at the public beach, we're going to be having the Jet Around race. Again, we're going to have, Hurley's group there. We're going to have Monster. We're going to have Tortuga and all the companies there. And we'll be launching the race starts at 1 p.m. The race starts at 1 p.m. and first prize is $10,000. And hopefully this year a local person will win it. Last year we had one international rider and he won because one of our best riders, Ski, had a little issues and he had to slow down and pull out. So that's the reason why. So we're just making sure that everything is safe. I had a meeting this morning with all of the safety guys and the police, fire station, and all of them. They're going to be participating. So it's going to be a good event. So I encourage everybody to come on out and enjoy the activities. And Jet Around Cayman will be getting bigger and better every year as the years go on. So just need the support from the local community, the businesses, all our sponsorship. It's really good. Eastern Avenue, Rubis, Roger has been amazing. He sponsored us last year. He sponsored us this year. Wayne Cocornell over at 7 Mile Rubis, they sponsored us this year for the first time. So yeah, things is looking up. So we'll build up this momentum going into the third year, and hopefully it'll be bigger and better, and we have more, riders and bigger prizes, and give people an opportunity to participate. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Tune in on Wednesday for Word of Mouth. And don't forget to like and share our page. We're also on YouTube. If you don't have Facebook, you can tell your friend, go on to YouTube, punch in Word of Mouth, scroll till you see Mario, click on that, and then you'll be able to watch us live. Have a good day. Until Wednesday.
We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point Pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.